Okay, so just very quickly, if this is the first time you're gonna watch this, this is not the way to fucking watch it. Let me be so clear on that. I'm gonna be pausing, I'm gonna be talking a lot, I'm gonna be throwing a lot of shit in here. This is not the way to watch this cinematic. This cinematic is best enjoyed uninterrupted. This is sad. There is so much that we have to unpack in all of this. There's so much that will have so much relevance to some of the past things that has happened within World of Warcraft. This has references to the Machine of Death breaking, so we're going to be talking about all of that and more in this cinematic, but I just want you to know this is not the way to watch it if you've never seen this. Alright, with that said, let's get to analyzing this little bad boy. So I love the fact, this is the second time, by the way, when you play through the Ardenweald quest line, you meet Ysera, and there's this part in Ardenweald, spoilers by the way, there's this part in Ardenweald where you see the final moments of Ysera. You actually play as the corrupted Ysera. You all remember that? Where she's standing at the temple and you're killing her? You play that exact scenario, but as Ysera. I love the fact that in the Ardenweald Afterlives, they start with Ursoc, where he's been corrupted by the Nightmare. And if all of you remember, Xal'atath had so much to say about Ursoc, about how, you know, he's a great prize for the Void to have won. So you see his final moments, his final destructive moments. And it's even more sad when you know Ysera's story, because as you're playing Ysera, the corrupted one, Ysera is very aware of the fact that she has been corrupted and that what she's doing right now, she doesn't want to do. There's even a point near her death where she forgives Tyrande because she knows what Tyrande did there was necessary. She knows that she had to die, but she had no control over it, which gives us maybe even more insight into the Void and how Void corruption actually works. It's not as if you are just now changed and you do the will of the Void. It's more a case of you don't have control over what you do, and the Void pretty much makes you do whatever. So it's pretty impactful that they start with this. The wilds tremble before my fury, and the wilds will become important in a second.
Wilds tremble before my fury! The nightmare's veil is lifted.
I mean, you get the sense that Blizzard from the beginning, this was going to be a more emotional Afterlives. This was in such a stark contrast to what we saw with Bastion and even what we saw with Maldraxxus. This really does, and what Blizzard have done so amazingly up until now with every single one of the Afterlives is they've set up the feeling you get when you quest in that zone. Believe me, when you walk into Ardenweald, you immediately, you're met with the despair of these forests. They are dying 100%. And you can feel that. You can feel the intensity of the characters and their suffering within Ardenweald, more so than in any of the other zones. So it's amazing that Blizzard was able to capture it, even in the Afterlives, that they really do link up with their individual areas that you're going to play through.
I return at last to the long slumber.
A little bit of an interesting insight here that I think most people should by design know, but it's nice that Blizzard have finally almost confirmed it. The creatures of the forest, the creatures of the wild, know where they go. I mean, he just said that. I return at last to the long slumber. In other words, those creatures know about their link, and there might actually be a lot of reference here to what we found out in the War Preface. In the War Preface, they say they may have found a weakness between the Dream and Ardenweald. The fact that the creatures of the Dream, so to speak, or the creatures of Nightmare, or of nature, know exactly where they go, means that there could very well, it wouldn't be that hard for the Nathrazim to figure out where those weaknesses are, since this is not a mystery. The Shadowlands, in other words, is not a mystery to the creatures of nature.
To the great forest beyond. Until
Something that I, again, need to put here, I've shown you guys on stream this multiple times. Ardenweald is a giant tree. This is the interesting thing. So Ardenweald has a bunch of these trees, these anima trees, because that's exactly what they look like. It looks like trees that is completely bustling with anima. The other thing is, it seems as if every single one of these trees is planted in a specific grove. So every grove has one of these almost anima antennas, or antennae, that collects anima and then passes it to the grove. So the grove gets fed from this giant, almost mini world tree that feeds the growth, and then all that anima gets kind of pumped into the acorns, the pods, where these creatures are meant to be reborn from. But Ardenweald itself is also a giant-ass tree. It's Tildrassil. It's quite literally Tildrassil. That's what Ardenweald looks like. A giant-ass tree, and this entire area built on this tree. So the Tree of Life is extremely significant here, and it might actually show that Tildrassil and the other world trees exist through dimensions. There might be more dimensions with these world trees exactly in them, which I've said when we played through Ardenweald the first time around. Remember Il'gynoth? I don't know if you guys remember the very first time we fought Il'gynoth. Il'gynoth's whispers makes it seem as if he is corrupting one of the world trees. We have time and time again asked the question, which world tree? Which world tree is Il'gynoth in at the moment? What if the world tree Il'gynoth was in wasn't on Azeroth? What if the world tree Il'gynoth was in in fact in Ardenweald? Could that be even more of a showcase to a timeline in a way? I don't know, I'm just asking that question.
till I may serve the wilds again.
Blizzard does such a good job here with those voice lines, because the voice lines, he knows this is the cycle. He is dying, he will return to his slumber, and he will be reborn again. This is the act of service for him. This is his service. These are the pods. They get fucking huge. Just FYI, they get really, really big. But these are the pods, and these pods have to... They lie there and dream. And basically, the denizens of Ardenweald. So if you look at this this Arelon here, these guys actually have the ability to see their dreams, which is quite fucking cool. Like, as they're lying there dreaming, as they touch the pod and they interact with the pod, they really do care about these lives. So every single warden, every single keeper of a grove will defend their grove with everything in them to make sure that that grove does not die. That's their sacred charge. It's what they are. Now, something that is very interesting about Ardenweald and its keepers, if you will, I have a feeling, and this is just this is really sort of a spitball feel, but there's this giant bear that you meet in the close to the heart of the forest in Hibernal Hollow. There's this giant-ass bear that keeps watch over Hibernal Hollow. And when you talk to this bear tells you what happened to its own homeland. You ask the bear if they would ever want to return to their world to protect their world again as a god. And he says, even if I wanted to, there would be no way for me to do this. So my question is, do the creatures that stay in Ardenweald stay there because they do not have a world to return to? Or is it sort of a choice? In other words, you may choose to stay in Ardenweald or you may choose to go. It really is up to you. But from this bear, he can't return to his homeworld. And what's even more interesting than that would be, does that actually reference that if they can't return to their worlds, they can't return to another world? So the way the purpose is set up, if their world has been destroyed, they stay there forever. They can't. The red bear in this cinematic is Ursoc. The bear that we see in Hibernal Hollow is not Ursoc. That bear's world was destroyed by green fire raining from the sky. So a nice little throwback to Sargeras and his demonic armies. I just want to say, the music, once again, we talked about this before we even watched the cinematic. The Blizzard music department, they have this insane fucking ability to just pull you in with their music. The music tells a story on its own. And you're watching these images on your screen, but the music is putting you there. It's pulling you into it. So just once again, from literally anyone that I know to the developers in World of Warcraft, the guys who work on the music, the composition guys, fucking wonderful job. Like, holy shit, this is just, the music really touches your heart, 100%. All right. You're actually asked to collect a lot of these acorns in Ardenweald. Like, this is sort of part of the quest campaign. You collect these acorns. And this is why I said these trees at the beginning, they showcased here. So if you look at these trees, it seems to me as if these trees pick up the anima and then it feeds the anima into the different groves. And then you get these acorns that grow from these groves, and this is how the anima is fed into the pods, by just collecting all of these. All right.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
So the anima serves two purposes for those of you that haven't played in Ardenweald just yet. The anima serves a couple of purposes. The first is the anima that you feed these souls are meant to regrow them. It's almost as if they become babies again, and you need to feed them in order to grow big and strong. But it also soothes them. So once these souls start running out of anima, once this anima reserves start running low, they can start having nightmares and things like this. So you need an immense amount of anima to actually keep these souls from falling into dreams, falling into disrepair. Now, Ysera, for example, in order to save Ysera, they almost depleted the anima reserves of Ardenweald. So this puts Ysera as a very important character. And once again, I look to Azeroth. And I realize that a lot of what I'm giving you guys around, a lot of the analysis that I'm giving you guys right now doesn't have necessarily anything to do with Afterlives, but it's important to know this as a backstory so that you understand this Afterlife so much better. Why is the characters and the creatures and the NPCs, probably not the NPCs, but why the people that come from Azeroth, why are we so important to the Great Beyond, to the bigger plan in the universe? Why is it that a dragon, part of the dragon flight of Azeroth, is so important? Even more important than a god like Ursoc, one of the wild gods. Ursoc wasn't even that important, but Ysera is important. Now, remember, wild gods isn't useless. There's a reason why the wild gods exist. But the dragonflights were directly involved with the safekeeping of Azeroth. That's their primary job, is to keep Azeroth safe. So why exactly was Ysera so important? Why is Azeroth so important this entire story? This is what I was talking about earlier. They can interact with these eggs. They can talk to these eggs as these creatures lie slumbering. Him touching this, it's actually seeing what Ursoc sees. He's actually getting very attached to Ursoc, and this is again something that they really highlight within Ardenweald. These keepers of the grove get very attached to those under their protection because they're dreaming with them. They're seeing everything that they are seeing.
Welcome to my grove, friend. My queen. I shall protect these souls through their winter. I shall see them reborn in their spring.
Interesting that this is perhaps why. Remember a while ago I asked the question, why is the Winter Queen called the Winter Queen when winter is to be dead? Well, Blizzard just answered this. They view Ardenweald as the winter forests. In other words, the creatures that come to Ardenweald come there to die, and the Winter Queen watches over them. But because this is a cycle, because nature seems to be the only thing that doesn't die completely, right? It always gets reborn because this is the cycle. She is the one that watches over their deaths and then gives them, gives them reincarnation, or gives them rebirth, if you will. So that kind of answers that. Thank you very much, Blizzard. It was bothering me quite a bit why she was called the Winter Queen when winter has fuck all to do with life. And Ardenweald seems to be bustling with life. It seems to be the most alive of all of the covenants, or all of the areas within the Shadowlands.
No matter what trial I face, I swear it, my queen. I swear it.
Now, there's something that you have to know, and again, this has nothing to do with the actual afterlives. The Winter Queen, at least right now, based on when you play through the story of Ardenweald, especially the campaign, so the Covenant campaign of Ardenweald, it starts to stand out that the Winter Queen didn't build Ardenweald as a place for souls to go. This was a choice that the Arbiter made. It's also, by the way, every single one of these zones in Shadowlands was built by an Eternal One. These are not natural zones. They are not natural in any way, shape, or form. You have to know this. These zones were designed and built by the Eternal Ones. The Arbiter then decided to give souls to the Winter Queen. The Winter Queen didn't design Ardenweald to keep these souls. But here's what Ardenweald is that's ridiculously important to the Shadowlands. It's the final lock of the jailer's prison. The heart of the forest was instrumental to locking the jailer into the maw. If the heart of the forest falls, everything falls. And this is important because of what happens next.
Rest well and dream. Season after season of this drought.
All right, so here's some very, very interesting timelines that we have to consider. Either Ian lied at BlizzCon when he said a couple of years ago the Shadowlands broke, or time really does work differently within the Shadowlands. It has to. Ursoc, remember, died in the beginning of Legion, right? He died inside the Emerald Nightmare. Okay? Based on the timelines that Ian discussed, based on the timelines that Ian gave us, the Shadowlands must have broken either before Emerald Nightmare or at Emerald Nightmare. If it happens further down the line, so during Nighthold, or even during the final raid of Legion, the timeline no longer lines up. So when Ursoc arrived, Ardenweald was still flourishing. But seasons have passed, and now Ardenweald no longer flourishes. Now Ardenweald is dying. So when did this drought actually start? Could it be that the drought was initiated, so the flow of anima started before Ursoc's death, but it took a while for it to be shown in the world? So Ardenweald had enough anima to last for a bit, and then it started running out? Or was this death perhaps more closely connected to the drought? Was something that happened in the Emerald Nightmare the reason this drought started, the reason the Arbiter died? This is just one of those questions that, unfortunately, we will most likely only learn this halfway through the fucking expansion. I doubt Blizzard is going to give us an answer in a cinematic as to what exactly broke the Shadowlands. What we do know is that the Arbiter's death is not the only, or the Arbiter's sort of offline nature is not the only reason the droughts exist. When you play through Ravendreth, you actually learn that Saidan Athreus has been hoarding all of the anima within the Shadowlands. Like, he is one of the reasons for the drought. All of the anima that should exist in the Shadowlands doesn't exist because he's keeping it for himself, and he's using it, he's going to funnel it to the jailer. He's going to give it to the Maw. This is his plan, ultimately. So just an interesting thing that I wanted to throw out there. Not entirely sure what the answer to when the Shadowlands broke, but this is interesting to say the very least.
Here. It's so little.
Again, setting up that starvation feeling. And you get this when you're playing through Ardenweald. This place is starving. This place perhaps requires more anima than any of the other zones. Just very quickly, this is why Ardenweald feels so desperate when you play through it. The other zones require anima for basic tasks to be completed. Ardenweald, everything that Ardenweald is built on requires anima. Those souls that live there, that dream there, they require that anima in order to be reborn. Without it, they will die. So the drought is destroying Ardenweald.
I know.
Seeing a final bit of anima. Again, just setting up that desperation within this.
It must be done. Reclaim everything from this grove.
This, by the way, is what the Winter Queen has had to resort to now. This is unfortunately the only thing the Winter Queen can do at this point, because there's not enough anima coming in to the to Ardenweald. They cannot uphold any of these groves. We may actually learn throughout the course of Shadowlands that more creatures have died than we knew way back in the day. The Winter Queen can't keep everyone alive. So what the Winter Queen has had to do, and this is something that actually there's even more that you need to know about this. Each one of these Grove Wardens, like Arulon over here, each one of these Grove Wardens can sense the dreams of their creatures, right? The creatures that's under their charge. They can sense those dreams. They can interact with those dreams. They can be a part of those dreams. And they can help them be reborn. They soothe them and make sure that they're happy. The Winter Queen dreams with every creature in the Shadowlands. When one creature suffers in the Winter Queen, in Ardenweald, the Winter Queen suffers that exact same pain. This is how connected the Winter Queen is to her realm. She is the realm. This is... You learn this towards the end of Ardenweald. I kind of sometimes hope that they would have actually given that away at the beginning, because it makes everything so much more impactful.
Everything.
These staffs, by the way, at one point you actually have to, there's a quest where you have to pick up one of these staffs. These staves are specifically designed to capture anima. It's their primary function. It's kind of interesting that Blizzard makes them look almost like a dream catcher in a way. And there's actually areas where you find a lot of these almost placed as statues. They catch any anima that escapes, they catch them and they kind of store them. So that's the purpose of these staves. It is sort of like a conduit of anima, if you will.
No! This is my grove!
There's something very interesting in what Blizzard is showing with this fight between Arelon and the Wild Hunt. The Wild Hunt, by the way, is ridiculously well versed in the art of combat. They are the soldiers of the Ardenweald. That's their only job, is to fight anything that threatens the groves. This is the Wild Hunt. Arelon is a keeper. He's not even meant to be a fighter. They all have magic and they can fight. He's not even meant to be a keeper, a fighter in that sense. But you see Arelon here, the minute the Wild Hunt looks as if they're threatening his grove, he throws literally all caution to the wind. No regard for his own life or safety. He will fight the Wild Hunt if that is what he needs to do to keep his grove safe, to keep those under his charge from dying. Which, FYI, if the Winter Queen did not show up here, he most likely would have died. Because the Wild Hunt, they are extremely one-track minded in their purpose. Which is true for almost every single fucking covenant in the Shadowlands, but they are extremely one-track minded in their purpose.
You will not destroy them! Arelon!
The color palette that you make as world that you just made a reference to, I don't think that it has anything to do with corruption in the sense. It might just be more of, like, red is always going to be more of danger, right? More of combat, if you will. So I think that's why they decided to do it. I don't think it has a nightmare element to it. But then again, it could be. Playing through Ardenweald, you meet a bunch of Drust that's not actually Drust. They are like Arelon, but they have these masks on, and these masks have twisted them into Drust. They've given in. I was kind of hoping that the Ardenweald cinematic would be about them, so that we could learn more about them and exactly how this corruption works and why exactly they've been corrupted. But of course, that's not what fucking happened here. But yeah, you learn about these characters being corrupted. So it's entirely possible that what they're actually showing us here, and I'm just going to throw this out here so that if this happens, I could go, oh, look, I did say that, even though I don't think this is what happened. But, you know, just to cover all the bases here. This might be the beginning of Arelon's fall. This anger, giving into this much hate, might be the beginning of his fall. This might lead him to that dark place that ultimately allows for him to completely fall to the opposite side, where obviously life no longer is important, the nightmare is all that matters. I don't think that will happen, but I do need to put that out there.
We are not your enemy. Anyone who threatens my grove is my enemy. I swore an oath.
Again, with the extreme one-track-minded nature of the Shadowlands. This was prevalent in Maldraxxus, prevalent in the Bastion, and now also prevalent in the Ardenweald one. There seems to be such a high value placed on the purpose and on their purpose within a given place that it's very difficult for them to actually see reason, for them to see what needs to happen. But we do get actually, and this is something that I did not believe, my personal belief at the beginning was that the Winter Queen is evil as fuck. Just FYI. Blizzard shows us a side of the Winter Queen here that makes me think I was completely wrong.
My queen. I kept faith all this time that you would save us.
He clearly doesn't understand. Again, you'd have to wait till you play Ardenweald to start making sense. The Winter Queen has been suffering for a long time. This drought is killing her as much as it's killing her forests. She feels the suffering from every single creature that dies there. She is so preoccupied with Ardenweald and its safety that she ignores you completely the first time you want to interact with her. She doesn't even recognize or notice you. That's how preoccupied she is with the suffering of her world.
Now you send scavengers to my grove? Why?
Alright, so she's actually showing him the future. What this will actually look like. What will happen to Ardenweald if she does not kill off the groves one by one and use what little anima they have at their disposal. This gives, I think, what I love about this Afterlives is that players who had some kind of inkling to make their way to Ardenweald now have even more of a reason to do so. You will actively play a part in not allowing this future to come to pass. This will be your job inside Ardenweald to ensure that this future does not happen. Because this is what the jailer has planned. The reason the jailer has this planned, this tree, by the way, the big one you're seeing here, is the heart of the forest. It's quite literally the seat of power. All power links to this tree. This tree also coincidentally keeps the jailer from exiting the maw. This is what the jailer needs. He needs this tree to burn, to fall, so that he can finally leave the maw. I love the way how it's disintegrating. It's completely disappearing. It's not even just necessarily breaking. It's disintegrating. It's showing how this entire world, it needs that anima. And I can't help feel like that might be the dark undertone that Blizzard doesn't want us to see. That this entire world wasn't just... it doesn't just use anima to strengthen itself. It actually uses our power. Because remember, anima comes from within us. It's our soul energy that is called anima. This world will disintegrate without our soul energy to fuel it. That is something that, to me, is at least a little bit of a dark undertone.
You saw what is to come.
Ardenweald is dying.
It must be saved. The Queen is called the Wild Hunt.
We have culled your grove, so that others might live.
Will you sacrifice one soul for the forest entire?
As I said, they weren't willing to do this with Ysera. They were willing to do it with Ursoc, no problem. But with Ysera, not so much. They refused to do it with Ysera, which to me is troubling. Why Ysera? As I said before, there's something special about Azeroth. I don't know what it is. I don't know why Azeroth is meant to be so fucking special. And it's not about her being in a different grove. She is in a different grove, but the grove that she's in is also dying. Right? Ysera has the nightmare within her inside Ardenweald, and for Ysera, in order to quell the nightmare, she needs more and more anima, and they go to every length to give her the anima required. Even anima that is meant to save others is given to Ysera instead in order to ensure that she does not die. So there's a lot of effort placed in saving Ysera. Why not Ursoc? He is a wild god after all. Why is he not that important? Why the dragon? Why dragon flights?
Or will you keep your oath?
Your heart is pure.
You can see the pain in her eyes, the tears that's building up in her eyes. You can see the pain that Blizzard is trying to push here. this is why I said I believed that the Winter Queen was evil. Until I watched the cinematic and I finally went, no, she might be misguided, but not evil. Listen to the choice she gives him here.
I will honor your choice.
She is willing to let other groves die if Arlon decides to save Ursoc. Your heart is pure. I will honor your choice. In other words, if you choose to save Ursoc, I'll honor it. Because you're not doing it for selfish reasons. You are truly doing it because that was the oath you took. This is why everything's just kind of thrown out now when it comes to the Winter Queen. Every video I've ever made, just forget about those fucking videos. Clearly, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to the Winter Queen, because she's clearly not the evil character that I thought she was, since I don't think that she would have done this, right? And it's not entirely true that Ardenweald itself would die if they saved Ursoc. It's just that others would die in his stead.
One last time, you serve the wilds.
This is by far the saddest thing I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. They just the way they started, right? The way they started.
Before my fury! The nightmare's veil is lifted. I return at last to the long slumber, to the great forest beyond, until I may serve the wilds again.
They start this with him knowing that he will at one point return to serve again.
Honor your choice.
The way they end it is so fucking sad.
One last time, you serve the wilds.
Fuck.
You will not be forgotten. Forgive me, friend.
It does show the cold-heartedness, the cold-heartedness of all of this, right? The Ursoc didn't even have time to prepare himself for this. He wasn't even consulted on this. The decision was made, and it was time to die. It's just, it's sad knowing what we know about Ursoc, and especially knowing what we know about his life, his final moments on Azeroth. This is just fucking sad. And once again, we see the theme of disintegration, right? Not just leaves blowing, but it does give this idea that once the anima has been removed, it doesn't just die. It's not just a tree that's dying. It's almost as if it's breaking down, entirely breaking down.
I will hunt for you, my queen.
And yeah, all of the wardens that die, or all of the wardens whose groves die, they join the Wild Hunt. They become part of the ones who will protect the final groves. In this case, it's Hibernal Hollow, the Heart of the Forest, and there's one other. I believe the very first grove that you go to, they're being saved, the others are being sacrificed.
For Ardenweald, and for the souls we can yet save. I swear it. I swear it.
There's a very stark contrast in what Blizzard did with this Ardenweald Afterlife cinematic compared to what we saw with Bastion and also what we saw with Maldraxxus. Ardenweald is fighting a war that's very different to the one in Maldraxxus and the one in Bastion. The war that Ardenweald is fighting is quite literally a war of survival. It's not a war to thrive, it's simply to survive. It's simply to wait out this entire thing until they can finally be saved again. And I don't think they can be saved. I think the way things currently stand, the jailer is going to cause a lot more problems before things get even a little bit better. And Ardenweald may actually return to the state of the Maw at some point. I've shown you guys the footage all the way back. Let me just quickly fucking jump there. I showed you guys what is happening within the Shadowlands. Let me just quickly fucking log into WoW. Of course it's doing an update. This is miserable. Anyways, I'll show you guys in a second what I'm talking about. Vic, how you doing, bro? How you doing, bro? The Flame Kirby, how you doing? I'm just waiting for this to update. How do you describe each Afterlife path so far? How would I describe? What do you mean, Digit? I'm not done, by the way. I'll show you guys now. I'm just waiting for this thing to freaking finish updating. This is what I'm waiting for. Alex, if you're still watching this, just cut this part out. This part that I'm drinking coffee and fucking waiting for the game to update. This is fucking miserable. If I don't show you guys this, you won't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I need to show you this so that you know what I'm talking about, because otherwise it just doesn't make a lot of sense. They choose Ysera because Elune wanted her for something. Maybe they chose Ysera. Yeah, but the question is, the question once again, it doesn't matter why they chose Ysera. It's that they chose Ysera that it's important, right? The fact that they chose Ysera is more important than why. Because they could have saved anyone. Why is the Dragonflight so fucking important? Be true green, but this year is especially bad due to the freak dry thunderstorm. And gender reveals don't have pyrotechnics, the gender reveals. But his spirit was alive in an Emerald Dream. Tasty Berries, what do you mean? Mr. Paparos, I don't know if you could bring Ursoc back. This is affiliated with the Dream Titans. Sorry, that was the Green Cup. Ah, okay. Julie, I understand. It's cold outside here in Cali due to the smoke coverage. Really cold? The smoke is making it cold. Alright, we're almost done. I'll be showing you guys this in a second. He is gone forever. Alright. Is this thing? Yeah, there we go. Was just revealing the gender of her new baby when she destroyed the tree. Yeah, Sylvanas was just having a bit of fun. Alright, well, we literally just got into Ardenweald. That's the giant tree that will die. But this is not what I want to show you guys. Okay, so let me go show you guys quickly what is happening right now that's rather interesting about the Maw. The Maw is described as an inescapable zone, right? It's an inescapable plane. But you need to see this to kind of understand what is happening there. There's a weird connection that's taking place. I just want to see on which side is this. I think it's here. Alright, so there's the Maw. And FYI, this entire soul stream. So this is the first thing that lets me think the Maw was the original place where souls used to go. Is the soul stream. Now that the Arbiter is dead, here's the soul stream as you can see it. Souls come in through the top. The Arbiter sits at the top of Erebos. The souls come in and they're immediately directed to their different zones. When the Arbiter is offline, the soul stream goes straight into the Maw. But there's more. That's Ardenweald. Actually, I think that's Maldraxxus. But look at what's happening to the energy from Ardenweald. Look at what's happening to the energy from Revendreth. Do you see this? All of it is being sucked into the Maw. The very energy, the very fabric, and you can see the same thing happening there with Bastion. All of it is floating right into the Maw, feeding into this giant black hole that's stealing everything. It's taking everything now. Almost as if to say, you were once part of me, now come back. Come back to the original state that you existed in. Part of this inescapable realm. All of it being stolen. This is why I think we're gonna see a hell of a lot more than what we've seen up until now. We're gonna see a hell of a lot more happen. Because the Maw itself seems to have this sort of... If the Arbiter isn't there to keep the other realms strong, it's as if all of that power gets sucked directly into the Maw. As these other areas, as these other zones start dying, the Maw eats them up. It consumes everything. Which makes sense, right? A Maw gives you this idea of a giant mouth that's just consuming. This is what the Maw is. It's a consuming realm. It wants to consume the universe. And it will grow and grow and grow until it consumes everything. I think this Ardenweald cinematic was absolutely perfect. I think it was absolutely glorious. It's even in many ways better than the Bastion one, but for very different reasons. I love the Maldraxxus one as well because it was different. It showed something different. It showed what you need to see when you're going to go into that zone. It explained what you need to see when you're going to go into that zone, what you're going to see there. Personally, I think this is just Blizzard fucking well done. Well done. But of course, I want to hear what you guys have to say. So, let's go.